Buddy, I'm so glad you're here. This is
Hello.
very exciting.
Hello.
Let's do a quick, if you could introduce yourself, just a
Sure.
quick who you are, what you do, that sort of thing, and then we'll get into everything else.
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name's Sidney Raz. You might know me on the internet as Sidney Raz, all across the landscape of digital media. And I became well known on the internet for posting life hacks. My tagline is things I wish I knew before I was in my 30s. And that tagline led to a viral hit sensation that I haven't stopped making since 2021 on a daily basis. And I have experienced a lot of death.
There we go. That about sums it. I love how you're like, I had this great experience. My life has changed, and I also have experienced a lot of death.
So much.
That is, yeah,
Oh,
and that's why you're here.
yeah,
We're
dude.
gonna we're
Like
gonna we're gonna get into it.
the title of this podcast just made me so happy in a way that was just like, oh my gosh, I could talk to this guy.
There's a lot. I promise you, there are so many people that have reached out, but based on the title, based on just listening to one episode, just the conversation of like,
Yeah.
yeah, I've wanted to have this type of conversation, and there's not a lot of space to do that.
Nope.
It's hard to find that.
No. I mean, and I'm sure you and your listeners are probably the same as me, but there's an episode of Midnight Gospel
Yeah,
where the host of that show talks to death, and it's Caitlin Daughtry, I think is her name.
that's the Duncan Trussell show, right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay,
there's an episode where he talks to death, and Caitlin is the voice of death, and she is a member of the death community in Los Angeles. And it's just, a very open, honest conversation about what death is, how it's explored. And I go back to it like maybe once a quarter and just like watch it as much as I can until I fall asleep because it's usually at the end of the night when I am a little high
sure.
and like
Yeah.
but it's just such a fun episode to go back to and just like express, what death is and what death has become, especially after you experience it so many times. And yeah, so like again, when I saw the title of the podcast, I was like, "Hey man, can I come on your show?"
Yeah. I was so happy. And you know what's crazy? I don't think I said this in the emails or anything. I tried to reach out to you before you messaged me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I've obviously familiar with your work. I saw your posts, what you were going through with the stomach and the cancer and all the things.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't think I emailed you. Maybe it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
I like I'm
Maybe it was a DM that I didn't
it was like
see.
probably yeah, like it was a TikTok DM, or I mean, I probably just left a comment on one of your videos. It was like, "Hey, come on the
Sure, yeah.
podcast," and it's
Yeah.
like, and then at the same time, I'm like, okay, I got to remember to email this guy, and then I'm not the best. It's hard. I got a lot of. I'm bad sometimes
Well,
with that, but it was just such a crazy thing and then you still just now we're here, like it's still happening.
and I think the internet's incredible in so many
Yeah,
ways and terrible at the same time.
yeah, oh yeah,
The paradox of the internet is daunting.
yeah,
But I think Threads specifically has impacted me in a more positive way in terms of like this, right? Where
yeah,
it's like Threads Threads just kind of gets it sometimes where you're like, "Hey, you want to talk about death?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, absolutely, Threads. Oh, this is a death podcast? Oh,
yeah.
for sure. What's this one post that I'm gonna see? This is gonna be good."
Yes,
Like
yeah. It was the Conan
that's what
video,
it
right?
was. Well,
Yeah,
and that's so this Conan video, I haven't even watched it all the way through,
it's incredible.
but talk anytime celebrities talk about death, I do feel like you get the Stephen Colbert
Yeah,
clip that circles every once in a while. And now this one with Will Arnett and Conan.
yeah,
The thing that gets me about those clips, I don't know, maybe besides Colbert, because Colbert experienced a lot of death before
yeah,
he was well known. But the thing that gets me is like when you're watching these guys talk about death, you're always watching like 50 to 60-year-old dudes, right?
Hmm.
And I experienced so much death before I was 30
Yeah.
that I'm like, I need to talk about this more. Like, why aren't me talking, and I don't know. I think that like that's something to think about too, where it's like there is such a audience for like listening to sort of this shaman or person guiding you through this doula of death, being
Yeah.
an older person. But dude, I lost so many people before I was 30, and I feel like that audience is not very communicated to or from often.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the younger you are, the further away you are from death, at least like in your head, right? So it's
Yeah.
just not something you think about. If you're lucky, you really haven't experienced much death, maybe a grandparent or something that you
Yeah.
kind of knew was coming anyway.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before. I went to a funeral as a child for a great grandparent. I didn't even know I was at a funeral. I just thought we were
Yeah.
like at a thing where like people
Right,
were
right, right.
around,
Yeah.
and it's like there's literally an open casket. It still didn't click. I was
Dude,
still,
open caskets are terrifying to
it's
me.
pretty wild.
I think one of the first times I experienced death was with an open casket, and it was weird. It was fucking weird. And
Yeah.
then when my grandmother passed away 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like seeing like my grandmother wanted an open casket, and I'm just like, Grandma, like, and I'm already in my 30s at this point, and I'm just like, Grandma, like, this is weird. Like, I don't want to walk in that room.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but I actually I think the very first time I experienced death was with my other grandmother, and that was when we were back. We had to go back to Charleston, South Carolina for that one, and it was like a bigger deal. And maybe she was open casket, but we're Jewish, so that wouldn't make sense. But anyway, so yeah, it's a very weird thing to experience as a kid because you're just sort of like, I didn't really know this person. I don't really know what's happening right now. And then as you get older, it's like, okay, like I've experienced, like an uncle passing. I've experienced, a dog passing away. You sort of like understand that your mother is more sad. And then when the big one hits, when a parent passes away, that feels bad. And that was really my first experience with it was when my mother passed away when I was 26, 25, I guess.
Yeah, that's too young.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
From the type of cancer that comes from the gene deletion that I discovered I have because I lost a daughter.
Yeah.
And that was like so fucked up. Just like, what? What do you mean?
All right, so we're getting a little ahead here. I definitely,
Sorry,
it's okay.
we're still doing, it's only been 9 minutes. Let's do the intros.
No, no, no. It's good. It's good. I definitely want to talk about your mom now, obviously with that
Yeah,
connection. That's
yeah,
really interesting. I am just sort of curious. You talk about obviously there's this like older group of celebrity or whoever, this older audience or the older type of person. They're talking about death more than like younger
yeah.
people are, right? And you see this podcast, you're like, I want to come on, I want to talk about death. I mean, what is it? Obviously, there's the specifics, the things that have happened to
Yeah,
you,
sure.
but what is it that you think, besides all of that, like, what is it that you really want to talk about when you have like this urge to talk about death? Is there like something specific that you're feeling or thinking when you're like, I need to talk about death?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a younger person's acceptance of death
Yeah.
that is hard, right? I think it's an overall acceptance of death that is very hard. Even when, for about a week, when I didn't know what was going to happen, right? When I discovered I had cancer, I I still had a really hard time accepting it because that was like for myself. But I think the thing that I always want people to do is accept the circumstance that is death because there are so many times that I've seen where it's like there was a will that wasn't written. There was a angry aunt that didn't get their money, right?
Yeah.
There was a family member that was told something that now has to live in a world where that isn't the case anymore because, you know, it isn't written in stone.
Hmm.
And I think to me, like one of the first things my wife and I did when my first daughter was born was, get a will, get a trust, figure that shit out, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that's the thing where like I see death, I want people to reconcile with the fact, maybe not the maybe it stems from the individual not reconciling with it that is dying, but there's so much opportunity to get your shit in order before death happens that I don't think people face. And that's the thing where it's like it is really difficult to face that information, but once you do and once you get through it, it makes it a lot easier if something happens. And things happen.
Yeah.
It's totally random and you can't control it and it sucks, but if you have the coherent brain space to do it, I think that's where I'm always like, God, I wish my mom had just like gotten things in order. God, I wish my father-in-law had gotten things in order. Everyone, I think it's just like a really sad thing to face one's death.
Yeah, I mean that's like kind of like the last like page of the book, right? Is like
Yeah.
this is you going to a lawyer, you making the will is like permanently cementing in your brain, oh yeah, I am going to die.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm gonna die.
it's
And
going to
that
happen.
sucks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
so I understand people wanting to avoid that.
yeah, and I think even when we're faced with it, if it comes too early, like it did for me, where I was like, I truly, I was having a panic attack. I was like, oh, I'm gonna die. Okay. But, like you are gonna die. You just sort of look at it and say, all right, what needs to happen before I die?
Yeah.
And that's really fucking hard to do. And you want to fight, you want to fight, you want to fight, you want to fight, but like, why was my mother still fighting on her deathbed that she wasn't gonna die, right? Like, why wouldn't she want to get her affairs in order? And like, it's just a stubbornness to it. And it's like you're staring in this room, everyone's around you, and shit's gonna go bad once this happens. And I don't like I didn't like experiencing it. I don't like people avoiding it. And, I think I am alive because I faced reality of dying. And what happens if I die? I don't want that. Let's take out the stomach. Great. And that's where I am now. I think I saved my life because of it. It's a little bit frustrating every day to chew and eat differently, but knowing that I get to see my daughter grow up is pretty cool. And we have another baby on the way now, due in like 3 weeks as of recording this.
No way, 3 weeks. Wow, congratulations, man.
Yeah,
That's
thanks,
great.
man. Thanks. It's scary, and I haven't talked about it that much online, but
Yeah.
breaking news, everybody. The internet now knows.
Ah, that's great. Yeah. So I totally I understand what you're saying. I think a lot of people can relate to that. And I do want to get into obviously, some of the main things we discussed about why you're coming on and what we're going to talk about. We've sort of teased a little bit all of it at this point.
Yeah.
Um, and this may seem like a silly question. I ask it to everybody. We really just got into it. I feel you sort of I kind of discussed it already, but I still like to propose the question to everyone, and I'm just kind of curious to see, what your response would be before we get into everything. But I am always curious what people's relationships are with death. It may seem like a silly question to ask, but right now, today, as we're sitting here, what do you feel like your relationship with death is like? Do you still think about it every day? What do you feel like your relationship is now?
I think I have a very strong connection to death from a secondhand perspective, right? Like someone that can guide others through the motions and transitions of death. I think I'm very good at that. I don't think I'm good at dying for sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
still I still feel very connected to this existence
Yeah.
in a way that I'm not ready to die. But in terms of like watching a friend or a family member experience death for the first time or second time, or watching a important dog pass away, or watching a parent pass away, right? Like that kind of thing, I'm very good at like helping, right? Even
Mm.
a husband or when my aunt passed away, I felt like pretty connected to like be able to help my cousins or, my uncle, that kind of thing. Like I feel good and responsible for others experiencing it. But me as an individual, I am very afraid of it, death and dying, which was a very interesting experience when I looked it in the face.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear you say that because,
Yeah,
you know, something that's been discussed on this podcast a lot, and we have a whole episode coming out later next year, where we discuss specifically near death experiences and how it changes people.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it just like completely. It's like you could see it in their eyes. They're like a different person. It's
yeah,
so crazy. And I would consider what you went through similar to a near death experience. We were talking more in the sense of like people are like literally flatlining,
yeah,
and like being brought back. But you experienced a very similar situation. Like you said, you were put in a situation where you could die.
yeah,
You survived. You're here
yeah,
right now on the show.
yeah.
And you're still saying that you're scared to die, which is of course understandable, but do you not think it gave you any sort of perspective or insight to where it's a little less scary, or is it just completely the same?
I think that just the idea of not being here for my wife and my daughter
Yeah.
was just terrible, right? Like, I think that, you always tell people at the end, it's okay to go,
Yeah.
right? And I think that is usually while they're already incoherent in a lot of ways, in the hospital, in the living room, on hospice, on whatever it is, palliative care. It usually comes with like, oh, we're already there, so the acceptance is already there, kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of fight in humans to not get to that point. But once you're there, that's when you sort of like tell the dying person it's okay, release. And I do think that I gained some sort of perspective, but like there's so many other people in the cancer community, especially that fight so much harder to stay alive than I did every single day. So my perspective shifted in like, yeah, maybe I'm not like as angry at my daughter if she won't get her jammies on. I feel very grateful that like I get to experience those moments sometimes, especially right after my surgery or right after my diagnosis. I was like, wow, this is like an incredible thing that I get to like be around to see this. I don't think it switched my perspective so much where I'm like not angry anymore. So that's kind of the thing where I was like, wow, I feel like I would have held on to that feeling a little bit longer, but like, nope, still annoyed. That's good. Like still a person, like,
Yeah, I think sometimes people expect you to be. I don't know if you're a Sopranos
yeah,
fan,
I,
but
I, I am, but I haven't seen it as much as I should, which is so sad.
okay, it's fine. But there was a point where Tony, spoiler, the show came out 30 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Tony gets shot and he survives, and he's this obviously, very angry person,
Yeah.
and he has this moment of like every day's a blessing, I'm going to stop and
Yeah.
smell the roses. But like he's also just an angry person. And you're like,
Yeah, right.
there is this beauty of like him sitting in therapy. And one moment he's telling her that he's going to stop and smell the roses. And then, he's flipping the table over because she
Yeah,
said
right.
something about his mother or whatever it was.
Right.
And I think that's kind of more of what happens with
Yeah.
people is
Yeah.
like you want to have that perspective, you want to be that person, but life also has a way of kind of not making you be that person.
Right. Yeah, you're still you if you make it past the thing.
Yeah.
That also sort of speaks to like life still turns whether you want it to or not, right? And I think
Hmm.
that's the experience with death that I also had where it's like when you go through that moment of brain shift and you have to like experience the world in a different way without the person that you just lost. It's really heart-wrenching to like see that everyone else just exists without caring that your parent died or that that you just lost something immense.
Yeah.
It like you get this perspective shift for a while, and then you realize, oh, I still have to deal with the car or whatever, right?
Yeah. The
Like,
mundane, the frustrating
yeah,
parts of life don't go
yeah,
anywhere.
exactly. And
Yeah.
it's just still the same. And then you sort of like fall back into your old habits, I think. And I think there's also a power in that, right? Like you want some sort of like benefit from the bad, but
Yeah.
the benefit really is just like this understanding that the world shifts in ways that you can't really explain, and then it's an acceptance of death that like, okay, I guess that is what happens. Great. So the
Yeah.
politics still suck, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like
The world's still on fire.
yeah, right. Like
Yeah.
and no one slowed down because you
Yeah.
lost something and someone. And I think that's a powerful aspect of life as well, where you're just sort of like an acceptance of it is so fucking crazy. Like my ability, like a guy I knew lost a brother recently, very unexpectedly. And I just said to him in like publicly on Instagram in the comments, like, yeah, dude, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
It's not gonna stop. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not like it's gonna get longer in between your mental breakdowns and you're gonna get more used to it, but it's
Yeah.
still gonna hurt sometimes. Like just get ready for that for the next few years. So that's I mean that would be like
Do you
yeah,
think
that's
before the cancer diagnosis, would that have been something you said to him, or would that have been a private
oh,
message?
absolutely. No, absolutely. The thing is that like since I've experienced so much death, I again like I know how it feels in those first few weeks really well, and especially in that first year, as you know, that guide through death. I know how to communicate the transition experience, right? Like I know that like there isn't anything like sorry, how are you?
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's more just like allowing the shit to feel bad, I
Hmm.
think is you know, and not dismissing it. And
I think it's why
that's the
those
thing.
like rage rooms exist now, where you can
Oh
just
yeah,
go break
sure.
shit.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's like somebody saw that and was like, this would probably be beneficial to a lot of different people.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it's like it's a lot harder to go to therapy for a lot of years, right?
Yeah.
Just go to a rage room
Yeah.
for
Just go
15
break
minutes.
a television
Yeah.
set.
Just like find that Mac that you thought you lost and break the shit out of it,
Yeah.
right?
Snap
Like
it
that
over your
sounds
knee. Yeah.
awesome. You
It
know,
does. Yeah.
get some office space. Was
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, where
Oh,
it's just
yeah.
like fuck up the
The
fax
fax
machine.
machine.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's what inspired Rage Rooms was that one
That's
scene.
probably it. Yeah. All right, so let's get into this a little bit because you did share you shared this your story online,
Yep.
and I'm curious obviously to get a little bit deeper into it. But where is like the best place to start, you think?
Oh man. I mean, I think the best place to start would be the beginning of
That
my
okay? I thought you just end there. I think the beginning.
yeah, just like the beginning where the Big Bang happened because that was a lot of death as well. It was a universe-sized death bomb that led to life. You know, when my mom died when I was really young, 25,
Yeah,
that was my first real experience with death. And then you know, from there, I thought I would sort of get a reprieve until I was in my 50s or 60s, but I didn't. So my mom dies at 25. My dad dies at 27. Then my stepdad died at 29. My dad never remarried, so I didn't have a mother or a stepmother. So, like, all three of my parents died before I was 30.
yeah,
And that's fucking crazy, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I think like the average age someone loses a parent is like in their 50s.
right. And like you expect like to have a at least 10-year-old, right? Which would
Yeah,
suck for that for you and that daughter or you know, family, young family.
yeah,
But you know, like you think about when people get cancer and die, and that's like in their 60s or 70s. And if you are following a general family line, you probably have a kid or something that like you're you know in your 50s or 40s or 50s, which still feels pretty young to a lot of people to like lose a parent at that age.
yeah,
So for me, when I lost all of them before 30 and just like still walked around, I met my wife before my stepfather passed away. And one of the things that she couldn't believe was like that I was just walking around with this insane grief
Yeah.
all the time and like still was laughing and having fun, right?
Functioning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a normal human being.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she actually met me, I think, right after my dad died. And we got to actually the 2 year mark of my mom, which was crazy. So I guess my dad had died like 6 months before my mom's 2 year, yeah, a year and a half. And she was just so impressed by me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know, like crazy, right? And so, and it was really hard. It was really,
Yeah.
really hard. But she took it in stride, and now we're married. So, and then when her father, well, so then it was my mom, my dad, my stepfather. There was a dog in between my mom and my dad, but that was really hard. But and then when her father passed away after we got married in 2020, not because of COVID, but because of cancer, but it was in 2020, so it's really kind of muddled.
Yeah.
But when her dad died, I felt very sort of like prepared and helpful,
Yeah. You've
you know?
been through it.
Yeah, and like I'm in the room with them. I know what's happening. I can see what's happening. I can see my mother-in-law like not accepting it and just like going through the motions of like this
Yeah.
isn't happening, but it is. So that was in 2020, and then my grandmother passed away in 21, and then an aunt passed away in like 23 or something. And then like my wife's grandmother passed away not too long ago. So so it's like it's been like this thing of like I again I can help people, but then when I lost a daughter in September of 24, that one to me was just like the craziest fucking thing
Yeah.
to experience, like a timeline being pruned as if it were the TVA like coming through and just like stopping that timeline from happening. That was really hard. And then I had to face it myself. So I think that's my entire death journey of like experiencing it with my mom, going through my other parents, going through my wife losing a dad, and then losing my daughter. So that's why I'm obsessed with death. And that's
Yeah.
why I bought this podcast.
Yeah. Well, welcome. It's good to have you, brother. Um, all right. So, and this is
That's your perfect clip, by the way. That's like your perfect vertical like teaser.
is you just listing everyone in your life
Yeah.
that's died.
Die. And then saying that's why I bought this obsessed with death podcast. Like so good.
We're gonna need to make a note of that. We're
Yeah, where
clipping
was
that.
that? Where
Yeah.
was that? Clip it.
And so this is sort of the point where you start sharing your story
Yeah,
online, right? Is
yeah,
that you lose your daughter,
yeah,
and then that also is part of the reason, or basically the main reason you find out that you have stomach cancer.
yeah. That is the reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
So,
like
yeah, talk me through that.
so fucking crazy. So my wife and I find out that my daughter Delphina was not growing her brain. It's a defect that's totally random called holoprosencephaly. That's the big word for
Hmm.
not developing a brain. So we had to make the hard decision that my daughter's brain dead. She's not going to make it outside. And the only reason she has a heartbeat is because she's connected to mom. And so we had to make a hard decision at 24 weeks gestational age. And we did. But since we were so far along, we had to terminate the pregnancy because she wasn't growing her brain. There wasn't anything in there really. And we delivered her. And that's the part of the abortion conversation that I don't really think people understand, which is like, it's not, especially at that stage, it's not LOL, bye. It's not like a pill. It's
Yeah.
like my wife and I went to the hospital. We delivered my daughter. We held my daughter. We surrendered my daughter. And then we had to cremate her, right? I had to
Yeah.
call the funeral home. All the stuff. And then from there, we got a DNA test on her because we wanted to know if there was any genetic thing that we should look out for future kids or ourselves. And there wasn't any reason for it. But the deletion that came back was a deletion called CTNNA1, which is a protein deletion connected to a more well known protein, CDH1. which causes hereditary diffuse gastric cancer in men and lobular breast cancer and hereditary diffuse gastric cancer in women. So, since she had the gene deletion, we got tested. My wife came back clean. She's a show off, but I came back with
Yeah,
the
did she
gene
just like
deletion.
pot? Do you like the pot? Was she just like rubbing it? She just
Yeah,
was like celebrating.
she was like, check this out. I have the protein that doesn't cause cancer. And I'm like, oh my God, it's fucking nice, dude.
Yeah,
But so she came back all good, but I came back with the
which is
deletion,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
just like the craziest thing. And then I went in for an upper endoscopy in March of 25. A week later, they were like, sorry to tell you, brother, but you got cancer. And I'm like, fuck, that sucks. So
So yeah, that's I mean wild. Um,
truly, like, I wasn't religious. I mean, I grew up Jewish. So, like, as any good Jew, I didn't do Judaism for a while.
okay,
And then when this happened, I was just sort of like, fine, okay, like, I'll go to temple, like,
yeah.
cool. Like,
It's
like,
that's fair. I mean, there's only so many signs you could get before it's like I okay, I get it.
okay, I'll read the Torah portion. Like, fine, like, whatever, dude.
Yeah. I get it. I get it. Stop killing my family
Yeah,
and giving
exactly.
me cancer.
That's actually what it was. That's what it was. Wow, no one has actually said it that way. It's like, stop killing my family, please.
So, were you feeling anything? Did it feel like you had stomach cancer? I
No,
mean,
man.
you would have never known
No. I
until it
mean,
really would have started showing signs.
yeah, so until I mean, I could have had it for the next, 15 years without knowing it.
See,
And
that would
then
have been, and
Mhm.
I don't, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is like where my obsession, the craziness goes is like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm the guy who gets like the weird feeling in their chest, whatever, I get like
Sure.
the weird symptom and I'm like, I have cancer.
Yeah,
And then
right.
of course I don't. Of course
Yeah.
I do not have cancer.
Right.
But for the next 24 hours I do, in
Yeah.
my brain I do.
100%.
So you actually do have cancer and there's no symptoms, or maybe you're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, I did have a weird stomach thing the other day. Now it's like,
Yeah.
you're thinking about it. But my immediate thought process would go to the doctor. Like you said, you could have had it for 15 years. It's like,
Yeah.
how does that work? You have cancer, but like you're just totally fine for
Yeah. Yeah,
until you're not.
until you're not. And that's I think that's one of the most frustrating parts about cancer is like
Yeah.
you're totally fine until you're not. And then by the time you're not, it's like, what do you mean I have stage 4
Yeah.
cancer? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Where
And
was the stage one
right,
shit?
100%.
Yeah.
So for me, even when I walked in the room, the surgeon was like, this is not how people find out. Like, you should be here in 3 years with stage 3, a
Yeah.
completely fucked stomach, and, whatever. And then there's nothing we can do. And it's like, oh my God. So, but the fact that I found it at such an early stage and it hadn't spread to the lymph nodes and it hadn't, all this stuff, I didn't have any symptoms. I had wicked bad heartburn for like 5 years though.
Hmm.
And that is usually a sign of like much more aggressive cancers. But it was because I was drinking too much fucking coffee.
Yeah.
So I stopped drinking black coffee and the heartburn just like went away. And I was so pissed because I had spent 5 years like taking omeprazole, eating Tums, like doing all the things. And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
dude, don't drink a half carafe of black coffee every day. I don't
Yeah.
know. Right. So stupid. And
Well, buddy, I have friends who they've been told to stop and they just keep doing it. So
I
I mean,
know. But
who's
then,
stupider?
so then when they were removing my stomach, they found out that I had a hiatal hernia at my esophagus. And that's what was causing my um,
Oh wow.
heartburn
So you're just
episodes.
full of surprises.
Yeah, dude. It was wild. So yeah, so I didn't have any symptoms or anything, and it was just like, you know,
Your daughter basically saved your life
my
at this
daughter
point.
saved my life, which is like, I wish my daughter hadn't saved my life and I didn't have stomach cancer, but hey,
Yeah.
here we are.
That would have been the
Like,
better version
that
of
would have been
this.
so cool.
Yeah, way cooler. So much
So
cooler.
that's it.
Yeah. All right. So you have this surgery. I've
Yep.
watched the videos. I saw you in the hospital. I mean,
Yep.
I was telling a friend of mine the other day that we were chatting and you were going to come on the show. I told her what happened, and she immediately just goes, "Well, you could just not have a stomach,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I'm sure is like the
Superfluous.
question you get constantly.
I know. My
It's
surgeon goes, it's a superfluous organ. And I'm like, no, it's not.
yes.
Hey.
So, and I watched you sort of explain it, and people could Google how you could survive without a stomach. This isn't a
Yeah.
podcast about stomachs,
Yeah.
but it is so interesting. It does get more into, at least for me, just like how crazy the human body is and how we could just like it could adapt and survive, and
Yeah.
it's so wild.
It's
And it's also
insane.
just trying to constantly kill us by giving us cancer and not giving us any warning signs.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
a
100%.
nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's just the absolute worst. I mean, what is going through your mind? It's like all you're grieving the loss of your daughter. That's something that you should not be interrupted by.
Yeah.
And then you get interrupted by dealing with your mortality. Now, on top of that,
Yeah.
I mean, what is going through your mind? Was there like a in the bathroom, looking in the mirror, just kind of
Yeah.
going, "What the fuck is
Yeah.
going on?"
My therapist reminded me yesterday that early stage grief is 2 years. So,
Yeah,
so if you're telling me early stage grief is 2 years, I lost my daughter in 24, and then I lost my stomach 6 months later.
yeah,
What?
yeah. What happens when they overlap, Doc? What
Right,
do we do then?
exactly. Like which pill do I take for that?
Yeah. Do I just snort the Xanax at
Yeah,
that
like what
point?
do
Like,
I
how does that
how does
work?
the Molly go into my bloodstream at that point?
I mean, yeah,
Uh
because it's like you can't compartmentalize these two insane moments in life. I mean,
yeah.
it's
And
like
that's
you kind of either have to face them
it's
or
I mean,
just,
and that's really what I did. Like I mean, also like my wife is going through a type of grief too, right?
yeah,
Like
of course.
so collectively, my wife and I are in three therapies, individual and then couple. And it's
Mhm.
been incredible. But like when I find out the news about cancer, it really was. It was like you look at your body and you're like, "What?
What
Come
the
on, dude."
fuck, man? Yeah.
And I think everybody goes through that. I think
Yeah.
everybody just sort of like gets pissed off at their body and
Yeah.
like in general.
Sure.
But, I think that what it was like I just got so angry and I was just so fucking pissed where I was like, what in what world is this okay? Like what? So I think for me it was more of just like fine, what's next? And and I really did have a really hard time and some panic attacks like
Yeah.
in the beginning before we knew the diagnosis, but and that was really hard, I think, because I really did. I had to face death and think about dying, and facing death and thinking about dying while looking at your 2 year old and your wife is really fucking hard. So I think that for me was like what was going through my mind of just like I don't want to die. What do I have to do in order to not die? And that's where I felt kind of betrayed by my own experiences, where like I thought that I would be better at this, but I'm not.
This obviously not the ideal situation,
No.
right? But there's been so much loss that you've dealt with that, and it seemed to be coming bi-yearly at this point.
Yeah.
And and
Mark the cows, baby.
yeah, yeah,
Fuck.
we're on and off. When is this a leap year? What year do
Yeah.
we?
What are we on?
And then it gets to you. It's
Yeah.
like it finally gets to you. Do you just was there a I just at least for myself, my just personality, the way I sort of see life, I guess sometimes is I would just go, yeah, of course, this checks out. This is like, this
Yeah.
is the appropriate continuation of the timeline. And then obviously it's a horrible thing to lose your daughter, but it does save your life.
Hmm.
Do we think maybe we've switched timelines here? You sort of broken the generational curse by surviving?
Well, I do actually. And I think that there was a point there, when my daughter passed away, my wife tries to make sense of it. It's like her purpose for existence was to save my life, to save my cousins' lives, to save future generations of save her sister's life if her sister needs an operation, right?
Yeah.
Like so that is sort of like, wow, we did figure it out and break the chain. Before, I would honestly say before it became a thing that started killing off my family more and more frequently, I think. So that was a thing where it was like, whoa, like if even if my mother was the first one to have this gene deletion that leads to lobular breast cancer, she passed away. And then I didn't know I had it, but now I can tell my sisters, my brother, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that feels like incredibly profound, and that's helpful. So maybe I am on a different timeline of like, guess what, fuckers, not dying till I'm old. Hell yeah, you know?
Yeah, you're going to get to that old age where
I really fucking hope so.
you could comfortably discuss death and maybe do it with some younger
Yeah,
generations and kind of,
exactly,
you know,
exactly, exactly. And like that's kind of going back to the Conan thing. Like Conan still feels like he's just talking about his parents, right? Like
yeah.
Conan, I didn't see it, but is that, I mean, that's what they're talking about? Like,
Well, I'll give you the short version. You should definitely go watch it. Basically, yeah, like I mean, his dad died.
yeah.
They were expecting him to die, and then 2 days later, unexpectedly, his mom dies.
Oh, got it.
So in the video is basically, Will Arnett texting Conan and being like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. We love you. We hope you're doing okay." And Conan texting him back, going, "I think Jason Bateman killed my dad."
Yeah, right.
And then and then it turns into this whole bit that Jason Bateman is slowly killing everyone in Conan's family. And it's just this text thread. So when Conan's mom dies, you would think the appropriate thing would be for Will Arnett to wait a few days and then text Conan again and be like, "I'm so sorry. I hope you're doing okay." But he texts Conan and goes, "Hey, Bateman's asking for your sister's address. Is it okay if I give her if I share that?" And it's like, and Conan responds, "Tell him to make it look like a robbery." So it's like, and it's just this incredible moment of just, this is exactly how you would expect Conan O'Brien to grieve.
Yep.
And, you know, if anyone's going to make both your parents dying in a week period funny, it's going to be these
Yeah.
people. And so yeah, the video just like went insane. It's like all over the internet now. The
Yeah, of
When I
course.
posted it, it came out like that morning. I had
Yeah.
just turned it on. I was like cooking breakfast, and I just hear this story in the background as I'm cooking, and I'm like, this is the funniest, most profound
Yeah.
thing I've ever heard in my life. And part of what I do is I like to just share death content on the
Yep.
internet, I think, and it made its way to
Made it
you,
way to
and
me. Well,
here we are.
that reminds me of, so when I found out I had cancer, and I posted it on the internet for the first time, like, hey, guess I got cancer, everybody. Pretty
Yeah,
cool, right? A buddy of mine, he was actually one of the first persons to just text me and also just make me laugh.
yeah.
He goes, God damn it. If that cancer kills you and I don't get to, I swear to God. Like,
The best.
and I was like, thank you. And I was laughing so hard. And I was like, yep, I'm gonna do my best to just let you murder me first. Right? Like, like,
That type of humor, those type of people, the fact that you have the relationship where they feel comfortable saying something like
yeah,
that
yeah,
is so valuable. I mean, there's just so much value in being able to make a joke and laugh in like the worst possible
yeah,
moment.
yeah. It really was. It was like, you know, I think I found myself very lucky to have sort of like those experiences. But again, it's like you everyone ex the other thing about death that I always want to talk about is like everyone experiences it differently, every single person. And even your friends that are just experiencing it by proxy with you. So to have that like laugh was very, very good for sure. And I felt very lucky to have it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend, she got cancer. We hadn't spoken in a while, and my immediate reaction was to text her and be like, "Look, I get you could stop posting the cancer videos. I'm reaching out. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
right.
call you this week. All right, you made it very clear." And that was sort of our just like starting to talk again, and it sort of brought us back together and much closer because that was just the relationship we had, and I knew that that would be like a fun way to
Yeah.
start talking
Like,
again.
yes, I will donate to your
Yeah,
GoFundMe.
yeah, I
Stop.
get it. You can stop sharing the link, okay?
Yeah, like
I've
I clicked
already,
it.
yeah. and
Stop.
then and then she went ahead and died anyway.
Yeah.
So, it's like
Which is
that's
just
just
rude.
it's
Yeah.
really rude.
Yeah,
Thought
yeah,
we had a
yeah.
good bit going, and she's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna just go ahead and pass now.
Yeah, that's what I always death is like the rudest thing because it's so untimely every time.
That's a t-shirt right there. Death is rude.
It is.
That's not a that's yeah.
It's never on schedule.
Yeah.
You can never plan around it,
No.
and it makes everyone mad. Death is just rude. Like it's not helpful.
Yeah. It's really just inconsiderate.
Yeah,
You,
inconsiderate. It's
you know?
very inconsiderate. Oh my God. It's just like, and that's the other thing. It's like after you experience so much death, when my grandmother was passing away, my wife hadn't really experienced that much of it, but she was like, "Okay, so should we like go back east? Should we go? Should we go? Should we go?" And I was like, "No. We have a plan. I can't control when she's going to die. If she
Yeah.
passes away before we get there, that's what's going to happen. We already got a plane ticket. I'm not changing the plane ticket. I no."
Yeah.
And I think that is something too where it's like once you experience it enough, you're just like, I can't handle anything that happens. I'm not in control of this situation. So just go for it, you know?
We're coming up on an hour here. This went by way too quick, and
Always does.
it happens. Yeah, it happens. People think it's difficult to talk about death. We just breezed
No,
through it
man,
like
it's
it was nothing.
awesome. Yeah, it's
It's
awesome.
honestly the best. This is like the best part of my day for sure. You obviously started making videos. You had a very specific sort of presence online, right?
Yeah,
Like you were
yeah,
like you made very specific videos. They all
yeah,
kind of started the same way. It was like a comfort thing almost.
yep.
You'd hear you like start the video and you're like, all right, I'm going to learn something new right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then it switches and you're in a hospital gown and
Yeah.
you're like, what is he about to teach me right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, do you did that part of it at least excite you in the sense of like, oh, I get to explore these like other avenues of like posting on the internet now?
Yeah, yeah, actually it really was. It was like one of those things where I was relieved in knowing that I could talk about something else that was so wholly mine that no one else could take it away from me.
Yeah.
And because for so many years I had experienced so many things that I never talked about because other people experienced them, and I didn't want to impede on their perspective so publicly.
Hmm.
But when this happened, I was like, "Oh, it's on, motherfuckers! Like
Yeah.
this is me, you
This is
know?
very, yeah, it's your
Like I
very
can't talk.
specifically your story
No
now.
one else can talk about it as much as I can.
Yeah.
Awesome." And I think that was very relieving where I was like, finally I can talk about it. Finally, I can express it as much or as little as I want to. And that was pretty cool. So I think I just wanted to start posting about it to even if they weren't expecting it, like help people see it that didn't know me or did know me and was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that, but it's helpful to see someone going through this so publicly. So
Yeah.
that's really what it was.
And you're posting on YouTube now as well.
Yep.
That channel is basically all about what we've talked
Yep.
about today, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it bounces back and forth, but like my longer videos are pretty much all about like my life without a stomach.
Yeah.
And my shorts are cuts of those longer videos, and then we go back to the legacy content to see, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's because that's the most interesting thing about me now is I don't have a stomach. like,
I
like
mean, you're now the I don't have a stomach guy
yeah,
on
in my
TikTok.
30s, like
Yeah.
here's yeah, exactly. Like I
In
don't have
my
a stomach.
30s. Yeah.
Like, hey, what's up, everybody? Like, so it's like, like the questions are always like, well, how do you eat? I was like, great, I'll show
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing, because losing a stomach is such a crazy thing to like think about. And then when you actually
Insane.
do it and exist in it every single day, you're just like, okay, let's talk about it. Like
Yeah, and I'm sure talking about it helps. Talking
it
about any
does,
of
it
that
does,
stuff
it
helps. So
does.
it's like
Go
you
to
are
therapy.
helping people. Yeah, therapy. Big fan of therapy over here. But yeah, I would, you're helping people by talking about it. You're helping yourself by talking about it. I mean, it's kind of a win-win considering it's also your job.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that
It's
also
pretty
helps.
cool. It's pretty cool that it's my job too.
Yeah.
Whereas like I'm not, I'm not beholden to any manager being upset with me that I talked about losing my stomach too much on the internet. Like
Yeah.
I feel pretty cool when I'm like, oh, I literally have no boss. Awesome.
It's
Like,
the dream. That's the
yeah.
life, my friend. Well, hey, buddy, this has been a lot of fun. I'm so glad that we're
I
able to get
agree.
you on the podcast. Do you feel like you got some of the death out that you've been
Yeah, I
wanting to
mean,
talk
I
about?
do. I think
Do you
that
need to
I
come
have.
back? Do we need a
I think
part
I
two?
definitely need to come back and be like,
Yeah,
hey, let's talk about death some more, you
let's
know?
do
And
it.
I just again, the title of the podcast is so good. And anyone that's obsessed with death, like on both sides of the spectrum, this is so great to talk about, right? Like go to the Museum of Death in Los Angeles,
Yes.
and just experience, embrace. It is terrible, but it is part of everything. So yeah, so I feel pretty good about this. This is a good podcast.
Good, man. Well, I'm so glad you came on. I had a ton of fun talking with you, and you're coming back. You got, will there
Yeah.
be a part two where there's this? I don't feel like we got it all out. I see a little more death behind those eyes.
There's always more death, baby.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. Talk soon.